Hello and welcome to Ever Chosen Minis. Today we're going to be going over how to make your miniatures stand out, and we're going to do that by painting up these Night Lords. Now, the main thing that I think makes your minis stand out is contrast. Now, this gets talked about a lot in terms of stuff like light and dark, so you'll have just really dark recesses, almost all the way black. That's what we use our washes and contrast paints to do, to darken those, while then highlighting all the surfaces. Now, we definitely want to use that technique here. We are going to be building up, but on this piece, we're pretty much just going to be doing everything super bright. So there's not going to be a lot of contrast. We're not going to have a lot of dark on this. So when you want a model to be really bright no matter what, you have to think of other ways to make that contrast. So we have stuff like the material, like if something's matte versus glossy, stuff like that can stand out against each other. With these models, we're going to be doing warm versus cool. There's kind of two different camps on this, as far as warm colors being like red, yellow, orange, contrasting with really cool colors like blue and green. So we're going to do a mix of that here. These are pretty much just going to be half fiery yellow uh, with light coming from below, like they're standing over lava, and then a really super saturated bright blue on top. So normally this would look really weird just having bright on bright, but here it kind of works because we're contrasting it with the warm and cool. So that's kind of the vision. This is how I'm going to choose to make my miniature stand out. And I think it's important that everyone kind of finds their own way of achieving that. I think one thing that a lot of people kind of do is they'll follow painting tutorials. Everything kind of looks pretty samey. If you want to paint an ultramarine, you can change the tone of blue, but they all kind of come out the same, pretty neat, uh, which is fine. But if you want your miniatures to stand out, I think stuff like this is a really great way. So, kind of to go over everything that this is going to do, we are going to use the warm and cool method of contrast as opposed to just light and dark, and we're changing up the lighting. So normally you see a zenithal from the top. This time we're just doing it from below. So it's just a little bit of an inverse, and you're still going to have a gradient on top, so it doesn't completely abandon that either. So we're going to use those two, and these Night Lords will look very, very distinct from pretty much everything else you'll find, because they're not all that dark, but they're still going to stand out and look really cool on the table. So let me go ahead and just show you how we do it. I'll break down all the steps, and then we'll talk a little bit more about some of the inspiration and stuff behind this. Now, as you can see, we started off here with a reverse zenithal. All I did was take some black primer, spray it all down, and then take some white primer and just flip the model upside down and spray it. Now, this is to kind of prep everything because there's two things that really inspired me to get this project off the floor. Been looking at a lot of painting videos, a lot of pictures, and there's one person who really stands kind of head and shoulders above the rest when it comes to object source lighting. And his name is Juan Sands. He's really, really good at this stuff. He's way better than me. And he does a lot of really unique kind of one-off pieces. Doesn't really do a lot of army painting, anything like that. He just makes like kind of little miniature dioramas almost for the models. So really cool stuff there. But the other thing that made me want to do this was I finally got an airbrush. I had one before, it was broken when I got it, and it made me kind of turn off from airbrushing. I didn't really see it as a tool worth using. But over time, you see all these tutorials, you see all these people making really great use out of this awesome tool. And so I had to give it another try. I got a really cheap airbrush off of Amazon. This is nothing special. It was just a kit that came with everything you need, spare needles, what have you. Uh, but having that made me really want to work on glowing effects because that's kind of what airbrushes are known for on top of speed, is being able to make those really smooth gradients look really nice. So as you can see here, it's not the neatest work with an airbrush, but it starts looking really, really good. We start with Imperial Fist Yellow. This contrast paint, you don't have to thin it or anything. You just put it straight into the bottle. It is really, really good. And we're just going to start with the brightest color one, which is going to be this yellow. So as you can see, we're just spraying it down over all the white areas. So we're just kind of getting that base color um, to transition that over to the fiery effect. Now, from here, another thing that you don't have to thin down is going to be an ink. We're just using a generic ink, acrylic ink to be specific, through the airbrush as a second pass. Now, this is where you have to be a little bit more careful. I'm targeting it kind of toward the tops and edges of everything, to where it's avoiding where we want the yellow, which is going to be the brightest parts. If you overspray a little bit, that's fine. I go back in later a little bit with some white in the airbrush and redo the glowing effects to be a bit more yellow toward the bottom. But here you can see just really easily making some gradients. The orange does a great job of just tinting everything a little bit and smoothing it out. And the last thing you want for kind of this fiery effect is going to be the same thing with red. Now we're kind of swapped off of the ink here, right back to a contrast paint. This is Slaughter Red. It's my favorite red contrast paint. And then, just again, straight from the bottle into the airbrush, no thinning required. I just put this over kind of on top of the orange, and it just deepens that more and more. And when we come back later to brighten it, you're going to just get these hints of red and orange everywhere. It's going to look really cool. Now, that kind of takes care of the base glowing effect. You don't have to even enhance this if you get a few more passes on this, or if you just like it as is. You don't even have to go too much further on this. This could actually be a really quick and easy paint job, and even quicker and faster than it already is. This already didn't take too long. But then you see me coming in here with the blue. I just spray this from above. This is just a ultramarine blue thinned down 1-to-1 with a flow improver. And it's just a generic flow improver. I'm sure anything would work, even contrast medium from Games Workshop. I'm sure if you mixed it 50-50 would also give you a pretty similar effect. But we just spray this from the top. We covered the black that we did in Zenithal with this blue and kind of sketch out where we want these highlights. Now, I did this specifically dark because I want to come back in with an even brighter blue after this, just to make everything, like I said from the beginning, super bright. We want everything vibrant and alive on this piece. We don't really want black shadows on this. We want everything to be illuminated by something. Um, just again, making it stand out a different way is our goal. All right, now that we've sketched out everything with the airbrush that we want, we're going to come in with a brighter blue. This is going to make the top kind of match the bottom as far as the vibrancy goes. Yeah, as you can see, the ultimate blue is not super bright like the yellow is, so we want to change that. So we're still going to be using that same ultramarine blue AK paint that we had before, but we're going to be doing 50-50 with Ducat blue. So you mix those together on your palette and just start layering it on top. Now we still want the ultramarine blue to show, so you're not going to put this absolutely everywhere, but you do want to hit the tops of everything. So the tops of some of the orangey yellow details on the legs. Anywhere that there's a flat surface where light would catch from the top is where we want to put this. So we're going to be using this for edge highlighting, putting it on some flat stuff, as you can see here. Stuff like the gun and the holster that it has are really great targets for this. And overall, just want to hit the tops, just leaving a little bit of that blue. And as you can see, this is just super vibrant. It's going to make everything kind of pop on the top just like it is from the bottom. And because it is this very bright blue, it's uncharacteristic of Night Lords. Um, but our palette is kind of cartoony and poppy, almost like comic book colors. So to fix that mistake, we're going to be adding the iconic lightning bolts next. Now, how I do my lightning bolts is just 2 layers, but it looks very good. So we're going to take the Ducat blue just on its own, um, put it on the palette, and we're going to just make some squiggly lines to start. This is just going to start sketching where we want the lightning bolts and kind of give us a first pass on it. The next thing we are going to be doing is just taking a super bright white, the brightest that you have, and doing the same thing. Now, I follow in the lightning bolts that I already drew before, along with making some brand new ones with the white. So this is not only going to make the bolts kind of look like they're glowing, since you're layering them that way, it's also just going to add some randomness and almost layer the lightning that you see on this armor. And you can add as much as you want to taste, but another important thing that the lightning bolts are going to do is kind of meld the armor together. As you can see here, you put it on the glowing yellow and on the blue, and it's just kind of melding those two with like a unifying element is how I would put it. So this will start looking really good and come together. That's going to get pretty much all the model ready to go. There's only a few more enhancing steps that we're going to go through next, and it's just going to tie everything up and just take it to that next level. All right, so one unique detail on these Marines that we are going to want to tackle is this man's plasma gun. Now, this one was really fun. This is the first plasma that I've done that I actually thought looked really good. I've tried this before, obviously without an airbrush, and you get kind of mixed results. Sometimes you can make it look really good, that's fine, but it never quite uh, goes all the way until you get an airbrush and you can make these smooth transitions. So for this, we're just going to take the coils and turn them, pure white. And it's okay if there's a little over spillage here, but just try to keep that as neat as you can. And then the glowing effect's really going to come to life with this airbrush. So we're going to just be using our orange ink, just get that right over the coils and the gun. But then to enhance the glow, make it a little bit brighter, and depending on how much glow you want on your plasma, you just want to make the light source stretch more and more across the model. And so with this, we're going to be using our slaughter red through the airbrush, putting on his chest, a little bit of his face, and just making the glow kind of expand from that orange. It's also going to bring the orange down a little bit more and concentrate it right on the coils, because the next two steps are really easy. We just want to reintroduce our white onto just the very bottom edge of the plasma coils, and this is going to be the hottest part where we want the light to be emitting. So we want that as bright as possible, but we don't want it pure white. So what we're going to use is a new paint to this equation, which is fluorescent orange from AK. This is really good to go over white. It helps make the hottest part and tint it just a little bit the way you want it. So as you can see here, it kind of puts the cherry on top of this glow and just makes it look super bright and, believable. You want light to be coming from the hottest source, and this is a perfect way to do that. Now, for the rest of the details, on this model, we're really just going to be hitting a reverse zenithal highlight, exactly what we did with the blue, but we're going to be doing it from below with Flash Gets Yellow. Now, this yellow is one of Citadel's best paints in my opinion. It works really well, and it's super vibrant. And as you can see here, it's doing a lot of the work for us. So we want this yellow to be hitting, um, primarily on edges and where the brightest parts are going to be. So it's going to be the stuff with the most direct light of sight to the light source. So this is just going to be where the glow is coming from. So we want the feet, bottom flat armor panels to get a lot of this. And you can kind of go ham on this. I used a lot here because I wanted my model to look very vibrant and glow. Or you can be a little bit more subtle and tasteful with it. So you can kind of play around with this method. I really like the way that these models have turned out, upon finishing this step. And I think you can see here that they stand out quite a bit. Not a lot of Night Lords are going to look like this, and not a lot of models are going to be, standing out with this reverse zenithal technique. From a distance, they still have that really bright, vibrant look from the top, but then you look a little bit closer and you see a little bit some different, a little bit some special, which is that underglow. So all we do to finish this off, the same plasma effect we just do on the lenses and eyes, just to kind of match that up. Just give them their own unique kind of orange glow that's different from the yellow from below. And that kind of wraps up how I did these models. Alright, I really appreciate you making it to the end of this video. I had a lot of fun coming up with this project. I think it's a really unique way to paint Night Lords. Don't have a Night Lords army, but this makes me want one for sure. There's not a lot of ways that you can make your models stand out against, everything that you might see. A lot of armies employ the same techniques. You have base coating, putting a wash, highlighting, and various degrees of that look really good. And on a technical level, your skill really shows the better you can do those steps. Uh, but finding unique ways and easy ways to make your army stand out have always been really fun to me. It doesn't take a lot of effort, but just the creativity of it alone makes people stop and stare. It's not going to be something that they see all the time. So if this inspired you to either copy this technique or to kind of come up with your own way to make your army stand out, please let me know. There's a comment section. I'd love to talk about it. I'm going to be making some more videos with some more army painting techniques that I have acquired that will make everything kind of stand out and be its own. So really appreciate, again, making it to the end. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.